Good evening, everyone. Tonight we'll begin our second board workshop budget session. And tonight we have a packed full agenda. We are going to start out with Melanie Ward with our Office of Curriculum and Instruction, shifting to technology and to special education. And we have our student services report. Melanie, thank you.
Good evening. Thank you very much. I am pleased to be able to be here tonight and share with you a little bit about the budget that falls under the Office of Curriculum and Instruction. I always like to start this presentation with a reminder of our curriculum mission, which is very reflective of our district strategic initiative as you look at the language. And that's very purposeful, as we know that in order to accomplish the goals of our strategic initiative for all of our students, we have to rely heavily on our curriculum and our instructional program to do so. So as we work through any processes to revise or write new curriculum, we do it with this lens in mind, that our curriculum is supposed to lead our kids to the opportunity to engage in rigorous, authentic learning experiences. So under the umbrella budget-wise of my office, we have a very large bug on the podium. I'm just going to stand back a little. Very, very sizable. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry about that. My office is responsible for oversight and support of our curriculum and assessment program. That includes our team of 24 standards leaders, all of the curriculum and assessment writing work that they lead. Each of them also lead a steering committee, which helps to inform the work in their area. And certainly the integration of our strategic initiative and equity goals into all facets of our program is something that we're keeping an eye on and are supported through the budget that is run through my office. A significant chunk, and you'll see it as we start to unpack the budget itself, significant chunk of the budget in my office does go towards our textbook and supplementary resource acquisition, professional learning opportunities for all of our staff across the district. There are some BOCES services that fall under my budget, and new this year, the career internship program has been moved to my department, and we'll talk a little bit about that when I get to that specific budget. So in the curriculum and instruction budget, I will be sharing with you information about a few different budget codes. The 510 is the curriculum and instruction budget. That covers the 2 FTEs in my office, which is myself and my assistant, Liz Norton. It also covers all of the payments for curriculum writing and steering committee work that our teachers are involved in. District textbook purchasing comes under the 510 code. Travel and conference to support, again, staff across the district. The BOCES services that fall under this particular code include support for Project Lead the Way, our technology program at the high schools, 3 through 8 assessment scoring, which we contract out to a third-party vendor to do for us, and we've done that for the last several years. And then select software applications come out of this budget, as well as professional learning that is provided through the BOCES services. The 511 budget code, which is also part of my responsibility, this is the code that really pays for our standards leaders. This is where all of their stipends come through, as well as their membership, which is a very small budget line, supplies, which again is very small budget line for them, and some travel and conference. The bump up that you see in that budget, in the proposed budget for next year, actually reflects a change that came out of contract negotiations last year, where we added a 0.5 standards leader at the elementary level to provide better, more comprehensive support for our elementary teachers. So we have a standards leader who'd been a 0.5 standards leader responsible for elementary social studies. That position got changed to a 1.0 full-time release, so she still is responsible for social studies, but then she also supports the integration of curriculum across all areas at the elementary level. The career internship program used to live under the Student Services Office and has been moved to the Curriculum Office this year. The primary reason for that is we did some restructuring to the program itself. This year, we used to have an auxiliary staff member oversee our career internship program. That person has retired, and we now have a 0.6 business teacher with a work-based experience extension who's responsible for our career internship program. This brings our career internship program in line with the state requirements for our CTE certification. We now offer students the opportunity to get a CTE endorsement on their diploma, but in order to be able to use the career internship for part of that endorsement, the career internship program needed to be overseen by a certified teacher. So Kristen Keller, who has been a business teacher at Sutherland High School, continues as a part-time business teacher there, but now coordinates the career internship program across both high schools, and she just stepped into that role at the beginning of this second semester this school year. The 470 BOCES code, which again falls under my umbrella, includes a variety of programs and expenditures, some of which are listed up there for you. Again, that big increase, that one big bubble that you see there, that goes back to the year that we came back from our temporary learning models, and we were planning for needing to use BOCES to provide remote instruction for a number of students that were going to opt to continue in that model. So that's what that big bump was, and we've brought things back down to a level place now. Summer school, this is a number that we put in at this time of year, never knowing exactly how many of our students will need to take advantage of the BOCES Cooperative Summer School program. And so we hold that number pretty steady, and usually we are able to stay well within what we've budgeted for that. We did just have a meeting with our BOCES folks this morning, and they shared with us that our students who participate in BOCES summer school program for credit recovery or retake of exams experience the greatest degree of success on passing those courses and those Regents exams in the summer of any district on this side of the county. So that was nice to see. Kids who do take advantage of that opportunity are being very successful with it. So these are those codes just kind of laid out all together. And then peeling apart the 510 budget category a little bit more so you can see how that money is spread out and allocated. You'll again see the largest proportion of that budget does go for salary, which includes not just my salary and my assistant's salary, but all of the payments for curriculum development and summer work that's done by teachers. The next largest proportion is the textbook responsibility, and then we have BOCES services, professional learning, contractual, and then other, which is a variety of codes with relatively small dollar amounts associated with them. In the standards area, 92% of the budget in the 511 area covers the standards leaders' stipends and salaries, whether they're a full-time release or part-time release with a stipend attached. And then you may or may not be aware of how unique our model is here in Pittsford to have standards leaders. They are teacher leaders. Most of them are still teaching full-time or part-time in the classroom, and they provide the leadership for the curriculum and assessment development in their particular discipline. They, by nature of the fact that they are teacher leaders, not administrators, which most districts have doing this kind of work, they have that on-the-ground credibility with their colleagues and their peers who are teaching side by side with them. And so it's a model that has existed in Pittsford for a lot longer than I've been here. I think it's a very, very strong model in terms of the amount of work that these folks are able to do because they, through their relationships with their colleagues, they get a lot of buy-in for really important work. How do we cover all of this? Basically, most of it comes through the property tax levy. A little bit of BOCES aid helps support these budgets, and then we have some our textbooks, hardware and software, et cetera, that we get that additional state and materials aid on. A few things I wanted to highlight as celebrations coming out of my office that have budgetary implications. Certainly, we're very excited about the district-wide rollout of the instructional hub that's been going on this year. You all were part of that work during the summer leadership retreat this past summer, and it's been exciting to see that work continue at the buildings. We've been supporting building-level administrators with this work at our monthly PDLT meetings, and then they, in turn, take that work to faculty meetings, department meetings, et cetera. So getting those instructional strategies into the hands of our teachers has been a real celebration, and I think we're beginning to see it make a difference. We're continuing to do a lot of work on aligning essential curriculum and instruction across building levels and grade levels, and particularly this year and going forward into next year, we're seeing significant work being done on elementary literacy, particularly as we look at integrating the science of reading research that's out there, and we're really needing to shift curriculum and resources to support that work. Work continues on the elementary social studies curriculum as we enter the 4th year of creating and rolling out the social studies inquiries focused on social justice, equity, and diversity. Middle school science has had a complete overhaul over the last several years to align with the P12 New York State science standards, and that work is now moving up into the high school as the standards and expectations for each of our high school region science courses are significantly changing. So all of those curricula are needing to be completely rebuilt, and we're needing to support teachers with lots of professional learning to implement science instruction in new and more hands-on inquiry-based ways. Likewise, we have new world language standards, and so we are phasing up changes to our world language curriculum beginning at the middle school level, and then that will begin to take hold at the high school level over the next few years. High school English teachers have been writing curriculum feverishly, curriculum that never existed in the past for most of our high school English courses, and I can say that publicly now because it's no longer true, as the English teachers have really embraced the importance of having aligned curriculum across the 2 high schools that are anchored in really essential work for our students to be doing. And our high school social studies folks have done a lot of work this year on common assessments for all of their coursework. So some really big lifts happening in many, many areas that I'm really proud of. We, of course, continue our work to align our ELA and social studies curriculum and resources, particularly with the New York State Culturally Responsive Sustaining Education Framework. We went through a process last year with our standards leaders of revising our curriculum template in order to embed and call out the New York State SEL benchmarks, as well as the New York State Computer Science and Digital Fluency Standards. Both of those documents, both of those sets of standards are expected to be integrated fully, K-12, into all curricular areas and are the responsibility of all teachers. So we're looking for ways to meaningfully integrate those standards into our content area standards. The protocols that we developed over the last year to review all instructional materials through a diversity and equity lens are in place and are bearing fruition. Our teachers and our students have embraced our instructional technology tools, and I know that Matt will talk more about our one-to-one initiative and how we're continuing to support that work. And we're engaged in some really critical conversations around equitable grading practices, and I anticipate being able to share with you later this spring some changes to the secondary report card that are more aligned with those equitable grading practices. Planning forward, we have a lot of work. We've started work, but we have a lot of work to continue to do around research-based literacy instruction across all of our elementary buildings. So there will certainly be lots of implications there in terms of time and resources and professional learning for our teachers. Likewise, based on the math ad hoc report that you received earlier this school year, we have work to do relative to our math instructional model at the elementary level to align those with best practices, and a lot of professional learning needs to happen there. We will continue to work, of course, on aligning our curriculum to the New York State CRSE framework, and our science standards curriculum work now is hitting that high school. So the earth science course will change beginning next year based on curriculum work that's been done now, followed by biology changing, and then, of course, chemistry and ultimately physics. We continue to work, as I said, on the SEL benchmarks and the digital fluency standards. Lots of professional learning initiatives. You can see them up there to support all of this work and build capacity amongst our teachers and help them feel competent in this work that they know they need to do. But a lot of this has changed for our teachers, and change is hard to embrace sometimes when you get on that gerbil wheel of teaching in September and you just keep going. You need to be able to pause and really give folks time to absorb some new learning. We, again, continue to support our one-to-one device initiative where, as of next year, we will be grades 3 through 12 all the way up through. Our high school colleagues are excited to know that they'll have all of their kids in their classes will have consistent devices in hand. And certainly the social, emotional, and mental health support for our students and staff continues to be a priority of all of our departments. So just kind of in a nutshell, there are the budget codes that we've talked about and how they line up in terms of last year and the proposed budget for this coming school year. Any questions? Okay, thanks. I think Matt's up next.
Hey, Matt.
We got rid of the bug for you.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you for having me today. Today I'm going to go over the technology and instructional services as well as the BOCES support services budget. Melanie touched on a few of the things, but I'm going to continue to dive a little bit deeper into some of the additional items such as the one-to-one. Just as some background information, technology services, well, we're responsible for the support and the maintenance of both the technical and the instructional systems. I always joke with my team that if it plugs in, chances are we have our hand on it and we're supporting it. We work directly with teachers, staff, admin, students, and families throughout the district to really support the technology use. My team works extremely hard on providing professional development to make sure that the tools that we are using are being used effectively and and they have a good understanding of it. And we do that all with about 20 full-time staff members. That's myself, our administrative assistant, 10 technicians, 4 instructional technologists, 2 audiovisual assistants, 1 performing arts coordinator, and 1 print shop operator. Additionally, on the other side of this, and Melanie, you touched a little bit on this, is the BOCES support services. BOCES support services goes far beyond just technology services. It's what many of the departments are using beyond just technology. So WinCap is a business function, professional development, Infinite Campus, the IEP Direct, Family ID, communications alert systems, web hosting, as well as Office 365. And a lot of those services will come through us, through BOCES. We have a lot of accomplishments, and we've been busy over the last year. This past year, we've closed, as of now, around 9,700 help desk tickets. That includes both students and staff members. We support over 4,000 connections daily on our wireless network. We monitor roughly 300 million events on our network monthly, and we have a pretty good uptime and reliability. Additionally, over the summertime, a lot of the work that we do is behind the scenes, getting the students' one-to-one devices ready, putting classrooms back together, making sure they're ready for opening day. Additionally, as I mentioned, we do a lot with professional development. Microsoft Teams is a big one. The Ed Tech Camp, which is a pretty neat and new professional development where we work with teachers to do more of a mini sessions to kind of help teachers show how they're using it within the classroom. Melanie, you talked about computer science and digital fluency. We got a series that's dedicated to that to continue to roll out those new standards and try to get teachers incorporated into using those. At the end of it all, though, the biggest accomplishment is what it all comes together and produces, right? It's the teaching and learning and why we do what we do. So I'm going to step back and kind of let the video do some of the talking for a minute. So as I mentioned, that it takes a lot of stuff behind the scenes to get all that stuff to come together to work. These guys work extremely hard. Anthony, thank you for that, making this video and pulling us all together. But it does come with obstacles and challenges. As we continue to implement new systems, it's trying to develop that shared understanding of how does this stuff work. It's balancing the innovation with the safety and the security. It's also, as we move to the cloud, it's that expectation of 24/7 uptime, and then the long-term hardware replacement costs. That's really at the forefront of some of the budget discussion today. Our budget is supported through a couple different areas. The first, the categorical state aid for both hardware and software. We also have our purchases through BOCES that will generate state aid the following fiscal year. And we also have our technology reserve, which is our savings account that we have used for strategic purchases that will help supplement some of the general funds that we have. Additionally, we can also use federal E-rate money that can be used for some larger purchases that also will generate some additional revenue. So as we looked at our overall costs and what we needed to replace and renew for next year, we started to make a list of some of the top priorities, and one being the one-to-one initiative. Now that we are going into year 4 and we'll be completely 3 through 12 with our one-to-one devices, and we've got a reoccurring cost for grades 6, 9, and a subset of the elementary one-to-one devices. We also have teacher and shared devices. We have interactive flat panels that we've been continuing to move from the elementary to middle and now into the high school. And we're continuing to use cybersecurity tools and resources. And as you can see on the right-hand side, there's some pretty big price tags that come along with this. And a lot of these have been funded through grants, year-end, and other Smart Schools Bond Act resources. So we're really looking to figure out how can we start to build some of this into our budget to have a sustainable yearly budget adoption. So as you look at our technology budget for over the last couple of years, you're going to see this year or next year, 2024, is going into a rather large jump. And that large jump is specifically focused on 2 different areas. One is the one-to-one initiative. How do we continue to bring this into our budget to make sure we have this moving forward, and it's not something where we have to find money? And 2, the security and the cybersecurity initiative, making sure that we're continuing to keep our schools safe and that we have the uptime and we're doing everything that we need to make sure that teaching and learning can continue to move forward. And I'm going to break down the increase from last year to this year on the next slide, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Additionally, on the right-hand side, you're going to see in the pie chart, the majority of over about half the salary, half the budget comes from our salary. About a quarter of it is going to come from the BOCES equipment line, and then some into the contractual services, and then it kind of breaks down further.
Matt,
Yep.
I don't want to lose sight of this graph because it looks pretty intimidating with the jump there. So just to reiterate, and I can't recall the year, maybe it was 2011, before that, right around 2011, our technology department really did not have its own budget line in our budget. It was a reliance on year-end funds to support the technology endeavors. So as our year-end funds are starting to shrink, and as we're going into the next couple of years of looking at budget reductions overall, this is our attempt to move technology, which is an extremely critical part of our students' learning, into the budget so that we have a forecast and a predictability around how technology will be funded in the future.
Thank you. Well said. So kind of jumping in there to Mike, to your point, our budget right now, based on this year's current budget, is around $175,000 for our equipment. Our one-to-one initiative is much more than that. So in order to sustain that, we need to figure out a way to increase that. The 2 ways: one, we slightly increase the general funds, $200,000 for next year. But we also start to leverage some of the capital reserve funds that we already have that's available. So $500,000 in there. That's bringing us to that $900,000 price tag that we are trying to get to on that previous slide. All right, so those three, and we'll talk a little bit more about more of a 3 to 5 year planning at the next slide. Additionally, when we talk about cybersecurity, we want to continue with the funding that we've been using through a lot of grant funds to continue working with the various cybersecurity tools and people that we've been working with. So you'll see an increase in general funds there as well. Looking at the multi-year outlook, you're going to see that we have down below the technology reserve balance. And as we start to draw each and every year from that technology reserve balance is going to start to be depleted. So in the 2024-2025 school year, when we start to leverage that $500,000, what's in there then starts to go down for the following year, and so on, and so on. And eventually, like anything, as you continue to deplete your savings account, you're not going to be left with anything. So by the time we get to the 2027-2028 school year, we need to figure out, do we replenish this overall technology reserve, continuing to put money into it, or do we continue to increase the overall technology budget to continue to fund that one-to-one initiative? So while we see an increase, a good portion of the increase is coming from the technology reserve that we're pulling from. That's money that's already there.
Here's the other nice thing about this. If we fund it, then we can have a more predictable BOCES aid return, right? Because we're going to buy these devices through that BOCES COSER, and then that returns the aid. So when we looked at our last workshop session, that BOCES number seemed lower, right, than the previous year. And that's because at this point of the year, we haven't decided what to spend. Usually we put it in at the end of March, right? So we'll put $500,000 in to buy more laptops. In this model, that BOCES aid will be more predictable. So we'll have it on the revenue side. You're just looking at the expense side. The revenue will be there as well, which in theory then replaces the reserve at the end of the year, right? Because we don't have that aid budgeted on that side of it. So oftentimes what happens, if you look at what you spend in devices, you then budget the reserve back and what you're going to get back in the aid. It's not just another revenue to spend. It turns into this replacement plan. And the only thing you're really funding then is the difference between the dollar that we spend and then what we get in BOCES aid, which is roughly, about 45 cents on the dollar.
Thank you. So moving past my general budget and looking over at the BOCES support services budget, again, that's supporting things outside of my department, that's supporting through many of the departments that are leveraging that. And looking at that, we are forecasting roughly a 6%. It was pretty flat last year. So we are anticipating around a 6% increase to some of the services as well as some of the products that we're leveraging as just annual costs go up for maintenance and renewals. Kind of breaking this down, like I said, as we started to develop the budget, it was to be a little bit more transparent and let's make sure we're building a budget that's going to support our one-to-one initiative. Let's get to that point where we can front load this and not have this at the end of the year, developing the aid that we're going to get from that so it's a little bit more predictable. And it's also that continuing to fund the cybersecurity tools and the resources that we've been leveraging over the last several years with our CIO to develop really strong practices here across the district. And as we look at these, you're going to see that, like I said, the majority of that money or change is going to come from that equipment line, which is the devices. Questions?
Okay, thank you, Matt. Moving on to special education.
Good evening. I'm going to present you with the portion of the Central Services Special Education budget that's part of our proposed 24-25 budget process. Just for the snapshot on the cover page, our Best Buddies groups are going strong. This is a picture of a combination Mendon High School Thornell Road activity that the two clubs did together. So just for some context behind the district-based or the district special education budget, for some background information, we are responsible for recommending and arranging for all special education programs for preschool students, school-age students, and students who attend private schools within our district boundaries. As you're aware, we do work to foster an inclusive culture, so we also provide supports in general education settings as much as possible, as well as supporting other inclusive clubs and activities. The salaries for the majority of our special education providers, which includes our teachers and our paraprofessionals, are included in the individual building-based budgets. So what you'll see here are the central services areas, which I'll show you. Just for a little more context, you can see the number of students that we support. This is the number of school-age students that we have who receive special education programs. Those numbers have been rising for quite some time and continue to rise. So this year we have 798 students that we are supporting. We also continue to monitor the percentage of our students who are receiving their services in general education settings. So that number continues to go up as well, which is what we've been looking for. So we're now over 75% of our students with special education needs are in general education classrooms for more than 80% of the day. So our central services budget is broken into three areas. The first area is the special education office. So that's the district office team, administrative and clerical, who oversee our special education programs and processes for the district. It also includes interpreters, contracts, legal fees, and our summer processes around evaluations and meetings. The proposed budget for 24-25 is pretty flat for next year. We're not anticipating any increases in this area. The second area that it comes from the central services budget is our speech language pathologists and our adapted physical education teachers and their services. So this covers just over 13 speech language therapists and between 3 to 4 adapted PE teachers. Those numbers, the PE teacher numbers, fluctuate during the year based on individual student needs for physical education supports. This also includes the supplies and materials for both of these areas, as well as we do reimburse our speech language pathologists for their licensing fees because that allows us to reclaim some Medicaid funding for some of those services. This area is anticipated to decrease slightly just as a result of the projected salaries for next year. The final area, and is the most significant area for central services, relate to outside placements and services. This covers all of our BOCES provided special education services, which are both programs and also all of the physical therapists and occupational therapists that we utilize within the district come from BOCES as well. So they're also included in this area. This also includes BOCES services for students who receive special education services attending the private schools within our district boundaries. So we utilize BOCES teachers and providers for our private school students. That's also included here, as well as our New York State approved private special education schools. So this covers a very large area. You will also see that this is the area of the three that we are projecting an increase in next year's budget, primarily the result of this year we received state ed guidance based on an interpretation of a court case in the Northeast region that requires public schools now to program for students until age 22. Rather than the end of the year in which they turn 21. So we built in to next year's budget, assuming and planning for our 21-year-old students who would have left school this June to continue on for another school year. So that's where you will see that increase. In addition to the budget revenue, we also, special education has a couple of other sources of funding to help support our programs. One is in our federal grant. We don't receive these allocations until later in the school year, so we don't know what they are now for next year, but you can see the history. So they this funding source stays fairly consistent for us year to year. We also are required to provide a percentage of the federal funding to the private schools and approved special education schools. But this also helps us to support our CSE functions as well as specialized services and equipment for students. We also do receive Medicaid reimbursement for some of our related services, so that would be speech therapy, physical therapy, and occupational therapy. This number fluctuates year to year for a variety of reasons. Last year, we received just over $75,000. That was about $15,000 less than the prior year. There's a cost settlement process that the Medicaid unit goes through, and some years we receive some additional funds that way, and some years we do not based on our expenses. And finally, the greatest source of revenue that we receive that helps to support special education programming is through STAC, Public High Cost and Private Excess Cost Aid. And you will see that last year we received over $960,000 in that particular area based on the claims from the prior year. And that was a very significant increase over the previous school year because the previous school year's aid was coming from still our COVID hybrid year where our expenses were a little bit different. So we're starting to kind of balance back out to where our aid typically falls for this area. In terms of just some successes and accomplishments for our department, as you saw in one of the first charts that I showed, we do continue to show an increase in general education access for our students with disabilities, focusing on the services that we provide, such as consultant teacher services in those settings. We also, this year, were able to increase our district assistive technology consultant to full-time through our federal grant, and that has been a really key support for our students and a great partnership with the technology department. In addition, we, as everyone else, faces staffing problems with accessing the number of providers that we need, and we've continued to be able to provide all of our required programs and services even during this challenging hiring time. In terms of some of the obstacles, we do continue to have very lengthy wait lists for some of our BOCES and other specialized outside programs, which means that we have to be very creative within the district while students are awaiting those programs. We do continue to have staffing challenges, and while we're proud of the fact that we've still been able to support all of our students through those, that does come at a cost at times in terms of needing to contract with private agencies and providers to help us, and that's something that we need to be on the lookout as we continue to plan for the future as well. And then finally, I talked about just the increase in eligibility for our students is good for students and good for families, but does have a budgeting impact for us. So in summary, this is the central services budget for special education. Overall, 4.72%, primarily due to the outside program increase. Are there any questions? Okay, thank you.
Last, we have student services. But not least.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be able to share a summary of the student services anticipated budget for next year, starting with this beautiful picture of some of our students at Allen Creek School celebrating and learning about the Lunar New Year. One of our English as a new language teachers, Sherry Zhang, went between our two elementary schools that have our English as a new language program to share about her Chinese culture and to bring some interactive games and activities and lessons to our students, culminating in some celebrations for Lunar New Year. This is the overwhelming slide of all the growing responsibilities and areas of support in student services. And as we look through all these, which I won't read them off to you, I just want to mention that the team that we've been able to build through the support of the Board of Ed and through just thinking creatively and being able to utilize some of the federal grant funding has allowed us to really dig into some of these areas that have been the highest concern and some of the most challenging for us, most particularly in the increase in mental health needs of our students and our school safety and security, and the social and emotional learning needs of our students. So the team that we've been able to build with our tutoring center coordinator, our SEL coordinator, our equity and inclusivity coordinator, and our student and family engagement coordinator is second to none. And so I feel very proud to be leading alongside all of them and seeing that we're able to actually dig into all of these in very thoughtful and meaningful ways. And I can't imagine doing that or attempting to do that without all of them. You'll notice that the 4 areas at the end, the counseling, psychology, social work, and school nursing services, those staff salaries are actually incorporated within the school building budgets for those staff members. Some background to be aware of in student services. One of the things that you're going to notice is that we were able to access a lot of the federal funding over the last 3 years to be able to offset some of our costs and be able to respond to some of the increasing needs of our students and our staff. So as those funds are ending at the end of this year, you'll notice those increases coming into the general fund. And so we've been having to be creative in how we're going to offset some of those. So, as we see ourselves as a department that helps to remove barriers for our students and their families and our staff, we've also noticed that there's been a significant increase in mental health needs. We have had a significant increase in students who are coming to us as immigrants and as SIFE students, students with interrupted formal education. So that means they've had more than 2 years of interruption to their formal education, usually coming with some sort of trauma, political unrest, natural disasters. And with that, we've also seen an increase separately in students who qualify as McKinney-Vento. So the McKinney-Vento Act helps us to be able to identify and provide resources for students who qualify as being homeless. So when I started in this position 3 years ago, we were averaging between 1 and 5 students annually who fit the McKinney-Vento Act definition, and now we're averaging around 20 to 25 a year. So that doesn't just impact the student services budget, but also in the areas of transportation and food service, what those departments have been able to do to help get our kids to school and provide them with food at school in addition to other resources has been significant, and they've really left no stone unturned trying to make sure that our kids are getting everything they need to be able to access their education. And through partnerships like the Pittsford Education Foundation, the Student Opportunity Fund, and working with some of our grants in title grants, which I'll mention, we've been able to be really responsive to meeting some of those needs. So similar to special education, our budget falls into 3 different buckets. So the first one is the Student Services Office. So that includes our administrative staff, our clerical staff, our district registrar. And as you can see, a couple of our positions, one of our coordinators in particular was covered by the federal grant. So as you see that grant come off, you'll see that offsetting in the general fund. The pupil services area includes our English as a new language teachers, our health services. We have one teacher, a special education teacher, who is the coordinator for our tutoring center, and it also includes our district physician and our contracts for Pittsford Youth Services, as well as the interns that we use to help support our school psychology department. Last year, we did have an increase in one ENL teacher who is part-time traveling between buildings, who's helping to meet some of those increased needs. And then similarly, we do also provide services to our non-public schools, so St. Louis, Allendale, Columbia, and Trinity Montessori, who are within our catchment. We do provide their school nurses, substitute nurses, some textbook funding, and some other health contracts. That's been pretty stable over time. And as I mentioned, we do have some other supports, namely our title grants that we also oversee out of the Student Services Office. So you can see our allocations for all of those areas there in that maroon color. Title I is for those schools that qualify as low income, so a certain number of students have to reach that threshold of needing free and reduced lunch in order to qualify. Title II is for professional learning. Title III is for ENL and immigrant students, and Title IV is for well-rounded education, can be used for technology, mental health services, safety, etc. The numbers that you see in black there in parentheses are the numbers of what we share out to our private schools for Title II and Title IV. So we collaborate with them throughout the year to help them determine how they're going to spend those funds. For Title III, you have to reach a threshold of a $10,000 allocation in order to be able to spend your funds, which you can see we were just under. So we reached out to Honeyway Falls Lima. So we have a consortium with them this year where we are the lead school in that, so we work with them. So what you see there in that gold color, the over $4,200, is the HFL allocation. So we work together so that both schools are able to access those funds. We use that mostly for our ENL students for tutoring, for resources, and to build that ENL summer program that you heard about earlier this year. And similar to special education, we won't know these allocations for next year until almost July, but they do stay pretty steady. So some of our celebrations, you will be introduced to some of our therapy dogs through these next few slides here. So this is Honey. She is our therapy dog at Calkins Road. One of the things that has been a huge celebration for us this year is the creation of the district SEL committee. So last year, we were able to take what was the district wellness committee, and our work over the last couple of years has really been around social and emotional learning and wellness for our students and our staff, but realizing that that really wasn't within our charter and we didn't have the right people at the table. So instead of the district wellness committee, we have replaced that with the district SEL committee. So we're looking forward to coming back to you all this spring to be able to share a vision statement that was just created and some of our goals for our first couple years. One of the things we've been doing to help offset our costs and try to be more creative with some of our limited resources is really look at our current positions, and through attrition, when a position becomes available, really looking at what are the best ways that we can use that funding to be able to serve our students. So an example of that is our new student and family engagement coordinator. We previously had a prevention coordinator who was an auxiliary staff member, and through some conversations with that person and through collaborating with PDTA, we decided that the needs of our students were really showing that we needed more acute support for families who needed direct connection to resources. And so we were able to hire a certified school social worker in place of that prevention coordinator at a savings to the district, which really allows us to have more direct support to our buildings. She is the secret sauce. She's running around to all of the buildings. She's in homes. She's helping to connect people to resources, the types of things that's just really hard for our school mental health staff to be able to do in the time that they have. We've also been able to get creative with our tutoring center. So as you see that growth in the tutoring center position, we have been able to offset that with not using BOCES for tutoring any longer. Even the few referrals that we still have left out at BOCES for students who can't get into the tutoring center, they are often going unfilled. So students will be without tutoring for sometimes weeks at a time. So when we see all the kids that we have in our tutoring center, if we didn't have that resource for our students, they would be at home without access to their education, and they're with us for a variety of reasons. And so we've been able to use some of our title grant funding to bring in more tutors to be able to help, so kids are getting more one-to-one support. We can bring more students in and just get creative with the types of ways that we're supporting them. And we're really seeing that students that were previously out, particularly for mental health reasons or school avoidance reasons, where they weren't coming to school before and we were hoping they would get a BOCES tutor and it wasn't working out, and they were out sometimes for the entire year. Now we're really working to get them back into school because they're getting up, they're coming in, they're going into the tutoring center, they're having conversations with other students, they're interacting with other adults and teachers and staff from their schools coming over to meet with them. So those are the types of things we're seeing that we hoped for, and that it is really shows so much more progress than any dollar amount could ever show. This is Clover. Clover's at Mendon High School. Some of the things that, just a couple of things to highlight, I won't read them all to you. Some of our community engagement events are power hours. We have one coming up next week on Tuesday, but also things like our ENL Thanksgiving festival that we had this fall was so important, and those of you who were there know that just watching people in their pride and bringing their food and sharing their culture with each other in that way was something really powerful through our ENL program. So we're really proud of that. And one other thing to highlight, our continued and growing partnership with the Monroe County Sheriff's Office has really changed the way that we do business. So in addition to being part of our threat assessment teams and coming with members from the Office of Mental Health through the county, every other week they come and meet with us. We also have additional sheriffs coming into our schools on a weekly basis just to be a face, just to be in our schools, to get to know the layout of our schools, and to get to know our kids on a personal basis, not when there's anything going on other than them just being here and making those connections. So we're very grateful for that ongoing partnership. And planning forward, this is Maya. You all met Maya at the Sutherland High School breakfast. We are really using our tutoring center, our student and family engagement coordinator, and really the creative thinking of many, in particularly our high schools, to start looking at some alternative approaches for some of our students at the high school level that are just struggling to be successful within the confines of our regular school day. So looking forward to doing more of that and really thinking differently and thinking outside of the box for students and helping them reach their goals. You have heard about the equity walks that happened at our secondary schools through Progression Partners, and those were just wrapping up, and we're looking at that data and making plans. Orlando Benzon is our equity coordinator, and he's already taken that protocol and is working to develop it into a way that it doesn't become such an event, and we can continue to do that in all of our schools in an ongoing way so that more of us can learn what it actually looks like visually in our schools when we have these equitable environments. So we are very excited to continue that work. And one other thing to highlight, coming up here in April on our Superintendent's Conference Day, we are going to be training all staff in the standard reunification method. So it's really the next layer of safety protocols to add on to our emergency preparedness plans that will prepare us to evacuate one building up to all of our buildings and be able to thoughtfully reunify all of our students with their families in the event that we need to do that. And with that, we have Maggie and Cooper, and we're happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Sharon.
Okay, thank you.
And we'll conclude our budget workshop for this evening. Look forward to our budget workshop number 3 in a couple weeks. Thank you.
Good evening. And welcome to the Pittsford School Board meeting. I'd like to ask you all to join us for standing and saying the pledge of allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. May I have a motion for approval or reapproval? Jeff? And Kim, thank you so much. All in favor? The motion carries. Thank you. So we are so excited that this evening we will have a robotics presentation from our Pittsford robotics team 3181. And would you all please, we welcome you and please come forward.
We love to see the sea of pink out there too. You all look amazing.
It's planned that way.
Projectiles coming our way. Is there anything should we go under the table?
It depends on how you take the presentation.
Well said.
There is a projectile.
Oh, wonderful. Let's just move it a different direction.
Luckily, it's not up. Yeah. We're not competing yet.
Good evening, Board of Education members. I'm Hannah Shria, the Vice President of Business from the Pittsford Panthers Robotics Team 3181. We are comprised of students from Sutherland and Mendon High School. The team meets year-round, even in summer and fall. Starting in January, we spend 6 to 8 weeks designing and building a robot to participate in First Robotics Competition, also known as FRC. FRC is a global competition where high school teams build industry-level robots. Our team has about 40 active students who receive training and first-hand experience in mechanical and electrical components, CAD, which stands for Computer-Aided Design, Programming, Business, and Art. The 2023 season saw the team's best results in FRC since its founding in 2010. At our first competition of the year, we came in 22nd out of 55 teams from the Finger Lakes region, including teams from Fairport, Penfield, and Victor. The team won the Spirit Award for our enthusiasm and teamwork, marking our first award ever. Then our team went on to make it to the semifinals in the Greater Pittsburgh Regional Competition in Pennsylvania, 14th place out of 48 teams. The team also won Spirit Award again in Pittsburgh, making a total of 2 awards in one season. We are incredibly proud of all of our members and mentors for their commitment and contributions to the team. Tomorrow, our advanced team of students will leave for our first competition in Pittsburgh, and on Thursday, the rest of our team will follow. Everyone here is invited to view the competition through the live streams found on the FRC website or visit us in person during our second competition at RIT on March 14th through 16th. We are hoping to go beyond our success from last year and to continue our results. However, this success is not possible without the support of our sponsors and the generosity of parents. Every year, the team requires thousands of dollars to participate in FRC for both the competition fees and the resources for the robot and the team. Last February, we spoke to you all regarding district funding for the team and we received $6,000 in October. Firstly, we'd like to thank the district for their support and encouragement of STEM learning. This funding has led to increased opportunities for all our students. We were able to alleviate financial strain and lower the cost of our out-of-state trip for our students. Secondly, we'd like to highlight the tremendous effort and passion put into our team. In the span of 6 weeks, we've had a total of over 2,593 hours of student participation recorded. The average member of the team has 68 hours logged in. These hours still only count for the hours since January, not including our fall work. We work all year. Our competition season is January through April, but we still put in the work and time over summer break and at the beginning of the school year. Last year's data shows that at the end of the school year, most students had more than 180 hours. Last week during the break, the team met for more than 10 hours every single day. This puts our time investment on at least equal footing with the district sports teams. It's not just the students, but the mentors who also dedicate their time to this team. They commit to the same hours as the students while working full-time jobs, as well as working outside meeting hours. They guide and teach the students with their experience in the STEM industry and beyond. They spend money and time on the team voluntarily so that the students can succeed in every way possible. Mentors have over 400 hours invested in the team and go well beyond that since robotics is year-round. Additionally, many of our alumni return to help out the team during their college breaks, and some even stay as mentors if their college is close by. They are crucial to the team's success. Not only do we tackle building a robot, we are also actively promoting STEM across the district. Our members have established an after-school STEM club for 4th graders at Allens Creek Elementary, and I've seen year-round participants join in to learn about engineering and technology. We have parents contacting us about establishing similar robotics teams for lower-level competitions in the elementary and middle schools. We also present at Mendon Centers and Jefferson Road STEAM Days and encourage the kids to explore STEM outside of school. We collaborate with the surrounding teams in Monroe County and have helped international teams at competitions. We are more than a club, and we believe our dedication and commitment to this team deserve the appropriate level of recognition and support. Many other teams are also seeking financial support from the district or their state. Some of you may have heard about the potential STEM bill that would create grants specifically for high school robotics teams participating in FRC. The bill will allow for state funding and grants of $5,000 for eligible teams. While this is exciting and could greatly benefit the team, the bill was first proposed in 2017 and has not gained much traction since. Additionally, it appears possible that our team would not qualify for the grant based on the criteria currently in the bill. As our students and mentors put so much time and effort into the team, we'd like to have the continued support from the district. Many of the surrounding teams in the area have been granted annual funding and assistance from the school districts. Fairport's team has been made a co-curricular, a special status in response to their efforts that go beyond a club. Some schools even recognize robotics as a sport and pay them accordingly. Most schools fund their teams because of the competitive aspect and the time commitment that is beyond any club, as well as the fact that FRC provides opportunities for students directly within the STEM industries that are not offered anywhere else. In comparison, our district is lacking in those areas. While it might seem aspirational to be considered a sports team or have the schools pay for everything, we're here today to ask for annual funding and recognition. We spend around $4,000 per year, not just on the robot, but on travel fees and competition fees, training for the students, food, and more. While the $6,000 this year helped a tremendous amount, having a consistent guaranteed amount per year would provide greater financial stability for our team. Every year, we lose sponsors and gain others, just as students graduate and new ones join. Our finances are always changing, and having annual funding from the district would be a tremendous benefit. Additionally, the money would be able to go directly towards our success at competitions. We'd be able to highlight the excellence of our district, demonstrating positive attention and attracting other attracting other support, while inspiring other students to pursue STEM education. We'd be able to go beyond high school FRC and establish LEGO League and other lower level programs in the elementary and middle schools. We would become more involved in the community and encourage STEM even more than we have already. All this will only become possible with the continued support of the Pittsford Central School District. Part of this support includes recognition. Despite all that we do, the robotics team is not even considered a team. Officially, we're a club, and this makes it challenging to be successful. The competition and travel are expensive and time-consuming, and new members often do not understand the amount of effort required since we are labeled a club. As we all know, you do not need to be you can be part of a club with minimal participation, but in our case, that is not true. We have a leadership system of students who vote during meetings and instruct new members. We have different sub-teams that collaborate and integrate to make the team function. We have a competition season and an off-season, both of which involve long hours and commitment. We have sponsors, fees, member dues, fundraisers, and more that can amount to almost $600 out of pocket for parents. We are really not a club, and we are a team, and it's important for our success to be recognized as such. Whether that means being defined as a sport or having co-curricular status, our team should not be classified as a club. With this presentation, we hope that the board decides to consider a request for the 2024 to 2025 school year, as well as the years to follow. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to be here today, and we hope you enjoy our live demonstration. Please use this time to ask us questions while we prepare the robot.
Hannah, I have a question.
Yes, Charlotte?
So you said that you wanted to engage the elementary schools. What would that look like?
That would possibly include establishing the other programs that FIRST has included, such as LEGO League, which is a robotics competition but using Legos, or FTC, which is a middle school program, and it would be mostly student-run by the members of the team across the district with the elementary and the middle schools. It's fine.
Anyone have any other questions?
I would just say, just quickly, you may not see it all the time, but you do receive visibility by the board and myself. So we have gone to competitions, love watching you in competitions, RIT. Also, I have petitioned, I won't use the name, but an assembly member, also asking to fund the club as well. So things are also happening that you may not see or be aware of, but we know the great things that you do, which is why I'm sure there aren't any questions from me or the board at this point. So we're excited to see the robot. Just tell me when to duck.
Where do you build the robot?
Currently, we build the robot in the tech rooms at Sutherland High School. Ideally, if possible, we'd be able to room out, but we understand that that's not really a viable option right now, so we're fine staying at the high schools.
So I'll also share that I attempted to work with Victor, Penfield, Canandaigua, along with Pittsford, to go in 4 ways in a facility for all schools to build the robot in that tough room. Not because of us.
No. I'm in on all of those, and we appreciate that and the response on that one too. Last year we did rent out a place with 4 other teams, and that's the difference between 20th and 15th place and actually getting into the knockout rounds is teams that have that time to practice and to drive and do all the other stuff that you have to do to get a robot that can work and compete, right? That's the big thing. You know, we could compete, but we weren't fine-tuned, and that's what that really helps out with. And, you know, every year I'm just amazed at what they do. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Brian Holliday, teacher, mentor, coach, whatever you want to call it. But, yeah, it's amazing what these guys do. It's just amazing. And if you go and look, if you come to RIT and everything, what you'll see, the difference between our team and any other team that's out there, we're loud. That's why we got the cheer award. But aside from that, is our kids are working on the robot. You look at all the other teams, the mentors don't let the kids touch the robot, right? I'm trying to give them the real world experience in this, especially for those going into engineering. But again, as Hannah said, we have business. She's taken on a business role that she didn't really want to take on because she's more of a CAD and mechanical person, but she's killing it. And you know, that's the thing, right? It's a business more so than just a team too, right? Besides with the financing and everything else. So it's just it's phenomenal. I'm always surprised at what the kids do every year, and you know, it's exciting. I can't wait to be in Pittsburgh.
And if the mechanical stuff doesn't work out for you, you can be a public speaker. Great.
Yeah, she did a great job.
Do you mind if I make a statement as well? Just a comment more than a statement. Sean Smith, I'm a mentor on the team. It's incredible what these guys have done, guys and girls, this year. We're a week one competition this year, which was something we were very hesitant to do, considering, you know, how long it took us to build the robot previously. But I mean, we have a working robot. We've actually spent a fair amount of time testing it. Penfield School opens up their school for the break that we just had last week. They have an entire field set up inside the school. The school allows them to do that. They have teams coming in from all sorts of other areas to compete, you know, friendly compete, over the whole of that break, right? So we've been going out there to use their field several times and so on. But, you know, purely from a time perspective, Mr. Holliday puts in a huge amount of time. I managed to get approved as a coach or mentor or whatever you want to call it officially through the district. So I do have keys to Sutherland now. I can get in and out, which has been a great help, right? Because Mr. Holliday can't be expected to be there 24/7 like we have been. As Hannah mentioned, the last week, 9 days, we've been doing 10 plus hours every single day at the school. I took 3 days off work last week. I'm taking 3 days off work this week to go to Pittsburgh. So, you know, we really need more involvement from people that can have keys to the kingdom, essentially, right? Because we are relying on the school to do a lot of this work. So, I mean, apparently I have to go through that whole process again. It took 2 years for me to get approved the last time. So hopefully I won't have to go through as much next year to do the same thing. But really, Mr. Holliday needs more people involved. You know, it's not a club, as Hannah said, it's a team. If you look at anything related to FRC, every team is called a team in FRC, and that's worldwide. It's not a US thing, it's a worldwide competition. Last year we were with teams from, you know, all sorts of other countries in Pittsburgh and in RRT. So I think, you know, a lot of thought needs to go into how you guys mold this thing moving forward, but it really needs more recognition than just a club. Thank you.
We have your DNA now, so.
Okay, no robots, right? So.
It does shoot much further, but you seem to be a friendly crowd right now, so.
It goes much faster on the field.
Great job, thank you.
Thank you.
Hannah, can you send me your PowerPoint? Just through email is great. Thank you all. Deb was just wondering if the robot could work security at our boat. It's amazing. I can tell the timing great, so thank you all. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. You all are welcome to stay for our meeting, or?
We leave for Pittsburgh at 8 a.m., so some of us are gonna leave.
Safe travels. Good luck. Good luck. Thanks, everyone. Great job.
Thank you.
So as they exit, we will ask our building principal, Lindsay Alley, to come forward.
All right. Yeah, I know, that's a tough act to follow.
We are not that skilled.
All right. Yeah, well, thank you all for having me here tonight to share with you all about Park Road. I'll be honest, I'm both a little nervous and very excited to be here. Nervous just because this is my first principal's report to the board, but super excited because there are so many great things happening at Park Road that I'm excited to share with you. I brought two friends here with me tonight, just an example of such dedicated staff who don't mind supporting me and Park Road Elementary School to provide you just some more detail and information on what we'll be sharing with you tonight. So Robin Pano is our school counselor. She is spearheading some of our community building work and work on our social emotional learning goals and skills. And Jason Ford is a 5th grade teacher who will be sharing with you some of our work towards the strategic initiative and work with the hub. And he also is our faculty advisor for student council that we'll be talking about. So change can be hard, and Park Road Elementary School had some big change to adjust to this school year. Me, a new principal. But Park Road staff, students, and families are just amazing, and we didn't take very long to get to know each other and to jump right into remaining focused on what's best for our students. Our 3 main focus areas or goals for this year were to create a new or just a different sense of community, to continue important work towards the strategic initiative and the use of the hub, and to always stay student-centered and remember that all that we do is for the children. We have hit the ground running and are in full swing with our work focused on these 3 things, starting with fostering a sense of community as well as a supportive learning environment for all. We have a theme of the month that students learn about and then celebrate that theme at the end of each month with a whole school assembly. So Robin's going to share a little bit of that background with you.
Thank you.
Oops. Sorry.
You're fine. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having us. So I'm going to speak a little bit about our SEL work that we
have been working diligently on ever since the summer. So our team worked very hard to think of 10 attributes that we think are essential for our students to foster and develop to just become good citizens and what we want our students to exemplify at Park Road. So what we did once we had our 10, which are up on the screen, every month we type books associated with each theme, and we provide them to our classroom teachers, and then we have a bin in the library of additional books if they want to continue their learning about the theme. We tie in classroom lessons. We just try to really have it kind of bleed into everything that we do so that it's probably ad nauseum repeated and the kids can't forget it. And depending on the level, try to vary how we're explaining this theme to our students. But along with our lessons and our books of the month, one thing that we're super proud of that we started this year, and honestly a huge thanks to Lindsay for this, is we started monthly school-wide assemblies. We have not done this since I've been at Park Road, and it has been honestly the most amazing change that we have made. It's created such a good sense of community and collaboration, and kids are really rooting for each other. We get to, you'll see a little bit later, but we get to hand out Student of the Month awards. So every classroom chooses one student to win based on the theme. A lot of our intermediate classrooms have the students vote, so they vote for each other, which has been amazing. And then each teacher who's nominating that student has to explain why they're nominating that student, what that student is doing to demonstrate this theme. And it's been amazing. Kids get so excited for each other. They're like shouting and cheering. Some have made signs. It's really amazing to see. And we've tried to make sure that we are spreading this not only for the recipient of the award, but we have pencils with the themes on them that we hand out to other students that we just kind of catch throughout the day or the week demonstrating this theme. So it's been really nice, and it's been all-encompassing, and I feel like everyone's really gotten on board with it. So if you ever want to come to an assembly, they're the last Fridays of the month, and they're wonderful. We have guest speakers, we have songs, sometimes we do games like the wave. It really depends on the month, but they're really fun, and it's just been really nice to have the whole school come together.
Thank you, Sue. We do have just a really brief clip of one of those assemblies. We thought the wave would be a great way to build community, but let me tell you, it is very hard to get 430 students to do a wave in a small gym. So we've been practicing, and we're demonstrating some perseverance with that so that we can really get that down. But so we have Kelly Jordan and Lynn Gossman have been working tying in our themes to music. And so we do have usually one of the theme of the month, they identify a song, the students practice that, and we have them, part of the assembly is that we all sing it. So we'll show you just a little clip of that. So it really has just fostered a great sense of community. It is something we talk about regularly throughout the month. We have announcements on it. We're regularly using the word of the month so that we are really starting to understand what it means to demonstrate that character trait. So we also have been working hard towards our strategic initiative and the use of best practices through the strategies that are provided through the hub. Teachers are really loving this resource, and the strategies are helping them engage all students in really rigorous and authentic learning experiences. So I do have Jason here to share some of his experience utilizing these strategies right in the classroom. No, that's not what we meant to do. I keep messing that part up.
That's okay.
Thank you, Lindsay, and thank you for allowing me to be a part of this presentation this evening. So at the beginning of the school year, one of the best things that Lindsay could do for our staff during our superintendent's conference days was to give us time to explore and encourage us to focus in on one thing, because there's a wealth of knowledge and resources that are found in the hub. And so Lindsay giving us that time to unpack, I found the World Cafe strategy that I had never used with a group of students before in my 20 years of teaching, and apologize for my voice. I'm losing it, of course, on this big important night. So I really commend Lindsay because she gave us the time to unpack and look and discuss and work with other staff members with elements of the hub. And so if you can picture this, it's the day before Halloween with my fifth graders, and it's my first observation with my new administrator, who I've never been observed with. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to do something I've never done before with this group of fifth graders. And it was probably the best thing that I've ever done, taking a risk and a chance. And through Lindsay's encouragement and support, she was really excited that I was trying something new and that I was taking a risk. So because the hub is so clearly written, there are great examples and resources and a wealth of knowledge. I really studied this protocol that I have not used with the students. And so I set up the whole room like a cafe, and the students came back from their special subject and found that there were centerpieces and a talking piece, which was a coffee cup from Starbucks that was generously donated. And there was butcher block paper on everyone's tables, and they had an article that they had to unpack. And so they, I'm like really proud of them, this group of kids this year. They did something they've never done before, and we were, do you want me to advance this? Or, okay, sorry. So through the World Cafe protocol, I had students unpacking an article. We were studying changemakers at the beginning of the year, and they were discussing Malala and her great efforts to be a change maker and what made her so powerful. So the question that was posed to the students in one of the rounds was, why do you think Malala and the Pakistani government challenged the Taliban? And so here's a group of 10 and 11-year-olds having this really thoughtful conversation, using the protocol that was outlined in the World Cafe, and they were jotting down their notes. And it was so authentic because during the different rounds, students got to go and visit other stations and read what their peers had wrote. And so I had said to Lindsay in my post-observation, it was kind of an out-of-body experience watching these fifth graders, because I was just there as a facilitator. It really had nothing to do with me, but it was so amazing watching them go through this whole protocol that now it's part of our classroom culture and routine. And so I, love the support that I had from Lindsay to try something new, and that we have this wealth of resources. And so they were excited, they were engaged, and it was, after teaching 20 years, one of my most memorable moments, even though it was during a formal observation. I was a little nervous. It was really amazing to watch them talk and discuss in this scholarly way.
It was truly amazing. And it was also, as an observer, just so awesome to hear kids disagree respectfully with each other and say, I don't know if I would write that or if I would do this. And then every round they got to get up and walk around and read each other's answers to some of the questions. And that's how they decided their next group was on what someone else had written that they resonated with, or that they agreed with, or that they wanted to discuss more. So just lots of really deep thinking happening during that protocol. And I was very excited that we took risks and tried something new, and it was really a great hit. This is just one example of the amazing teaching and learning that's taking place and the strategies with the hub. We have lots of teachers excited about it, digging into some new things, really expanding some of their best practices. We see a lot of community circles and jigsawing, 2 stars and a wish, lots of new things that people are really getting into and that we're seeing students grasp and really get excited about. I don't know why it doesn't like my click there. So the last piece that we wrote on here as our focus area is obviously student-centered. However, that is at the heart of everything and the forefront of really all that we do. We work hard as a whole school community to remain student-focused, to always put kids first. We empower some of our older students to take on responsibilities such as being safeties, which they love, and student council. So this is the first year since the pandemic where we've had an active student council up and running again. And we currently have 21 students participating. They were very excited, 4th and 5th graders. Really did some awesome campaigning and some great speeches. So it was great to see that whole process up and running again. These students are so excited to be leaders in our building. They're generating themes of the week right before breaks where we do something different every day, and the whole school is involved, students and staff alike. They also support community service activities and are brainstorming all sorts of ways that they can help improve Park Road. So that's been great work. Jason and Karen Sacher are the faculty advisors. I'll have him share just a little bit about some of that work too.
Hello. So we are really excited. Karen Sacher and I have taken the initiative through Lindsay's leadership to bring student council back, and it's just been really exciting to see the students wanting to use their voice. We have 3 students that are on the board where we have president, secretary, and treasurer. So they are learning skills that, because I work over at Sutherland with the drama department, they're doing the same things. The treasurer is doing the same things that, and learning those protocol that my high schoolers are working on, and creating a budget, and they are going to be the ambassadors at our kindergarten welcome night and design t-shirts, and are starting their first community outreach project where they want to help on animal shelters. So we're just in the initial phases of that, but it's been really empowering to watch the kids take initiative, but also want to be a part of the conversation and make change at school.
So I have been impressed from the day I started at the passion of the teachers in this building, the hard work of the students and the support of the families. It's really just been quite an interesting journey to start, and just so wonderful. You'll see here lots of different pictures of the learning that takes place. We really work hard every day to engage students in authentic learning experiences. Everybody works around the room. We have specialized seating, or sometimes you just stand, whatever works best for you. We offer a lot of choice for students to have some autonomy, and we engage students every day in problem solving, giving them ample time to work together, both in large and small groups, but really to also figure out some of those character traits that are associated to our theme of the month. The students and staff at Park Road are amazing. We all have a lot of Park Road and Pittsford pride. I already feel like a part of the family and that I'm lucky to be here, and it was my pleasure to share this all with you tonight. Thank you, everybody.
We appreciated the opportunity to be there, to interact with the staff, and it was a lovely energy to the building, and we appreciate you all being here. Thank you. And what you do first.
And both of your outside observations are now done. You did it in front of the Board of Ed, so you're good. You did well.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. So now we will have a motion to approve our minutes. Sarah, and seconded by Kim. Thank you. All in favor? You guys have it with one abstention. Thank you. Next on our agenda is the Board of Education report. Monroe County School Boards Association meetings. We have several coming up. Legislative committee is about to have an exciting venture next week. And so I'm sure that tomorrow's meeting is preparation for that. I went to Albany. That's very exciting. Are there any other reports, or would anyone like to say anything about the activities they've engaged in? Okay, so dates to remember. On March 7th, we have a board visit at Calkins Road Middle School. Visits at 7, tours at 7:30. And by show of hands, who can attend? Thank you so much. And our next regularly scheduled meeting is March 12th. And next, we'll move forward with our financial report from Mr. Deskey.
All right, thank you very much for your consideration tonight is the acceptance of the January Treasurer's Report. I'll say that, again, interest earnings look really good. One of the things in preparation of the next budget presentation that you'll also notice is a huge increase in our auction and surplus, where normally we would trade in buses for $2,000 to $3,000. You know, we're getting upwards of $10,000 to $12,000 per bus depending on the year. So that's been fantastic and continues to go well. The only other thing I'd highlight is I've made a number of comments in the past regarding the food service budget. I pulled our team together and we are back on track as of January. We've got a positive outlook for the end of the year. So I feel confident that we'll continue to meet and, you know, keep a close eye on that budget, but I think we're going to do just fine, you know, now after reviewing but a further outlook, you know, as we go further in the year.
Thank you, Mr. Deskey. So is there a motion for acceptance of the treasurer's report? Emily and Sarah, all in favor? All opposed, the ayes have it. Thank you so much. Next, sir.
So the next thing is just the state requirement to have the tax cap submitted by March 1st. It has been submitted. I outlined all the factors for your review. I would say, you know, I outlined the factors, most of the factors, you know, at the last budget workshop. The only significant thing is this year, for only the second time since 2012, right, or 2012, we have an ERS, Employees Retirement System exclusion, because it was in excess of that 2% threshold. It's 2.1%. So there's a little bit of more money that we can collect through that exclusion, you know, in this segment.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Next, we'll move forward with our human resource report from Mr. Clark.
Thank you and good evening. First for your consideration is the professional staff report. We have one change in administrative title, that is zero cost impact. That's just to better align with the appropriate retirement system. We have 6 school-related professional appointments, 1 managerial confidential appointment, 1 supervisory and technical appointment, 1 school-related professional termination, and we have spring coaching salaries and volunteers for your approval.
Thank you. Is there a motion to accept the professional staff report? L.D. Kim and Dave Brooke. All in favor? All opposed? Thank you. The motion carries.
Thank you. And next for your consideration is the support staff report. We have 1 transportation appointment, 1 transportation retirement with 40.2 years of service, 2 custodial maintenance resignations, and 1 food service appointment.
Thank you. Is there a motion to accept the support staff report? Sarah and Kim Hewes. Thank you. Any questions? Hearing none. All in favor? Thank you. The motion carries.
Thank you.
Next, we'll have the special education report from Ms. Woods.
CSE and CPSE recommendations are on the consent agenda.
Thank you. And now we will have the superintendent's report.
Thank you. There is a need for an executive session this evening, and that is for discussion regarding proposed, pending, or current litigation.
So is there a motion? There is a motion that we will have an executive session. Jeff and Dave. All in favor? Yes, we will. Thank you.
You're going to be very hard pressed to deny this after tonight. I dare you. First for your consideration is a field trip to Pittsford, PA for the robotics team.
Yes. So there's board action for the field trip approval to Pittsford, Pennsylvania for our robotics team. The date is February 28th to March 4th. All in favor? Okay, yes, is there a motion? Thank you. That would be Sarah and Kim. Thank you. All in favor? We're so excited to do it.
Next. Next is a request for your approval for the robotics team to travel to Houston, Texas on April 14th through April 20th.
Thank you. So is there a motion to accept this field trip? Thank you. So that's Dave and Emily. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Next is a request for your approval for the robotics team to go to Disney World. No? All right, scrap that. That was really not a full proposal. So I do have on the agenda the calendar for consideration. I did put it as a first reading. Some years we just do it as a one and done, but we're early enough in the process where there's time. It's a long calendar year. We start on the 2nd is Labor Day, and so September 3rd would be the potential start date, and it goes all the way to Regents Rating Day being among the latest I've ever seen, which is June 26th and June 27th. So some highlights in the calendar. Historically, we have done really well with using 2 days of bringing staff in before students, and that serves many, many purposes. So this reflects 2 days with staff, and then so it'd be the 3rd and the 4th with staff, and then students starting Thursday the 5th of Labor Day. You will see some schools probably starting with students the 4th of September, but we are recommending the 5th with students. Other things of note, next year is the first year that there is a Lunar New Year that's being observed, and that is on January 29th. Typically, at least for the last 3 years, we've included Yom Kippur in the calendar. That is actually taking place on Sunset Friday, October 11th, and it ends Saturday the October 12th. So you won't see it reflected in a day off in the calendar this year. So with that, any questions or clarifications needed for the calendar? We all good? Okay. And last I would just say I've had a ball going and observing our buildings. As central office team, I encourage our central office team members to get in buildings as much as possible. This stint between now and April break is usually when we see a lot of stress build up, a lot of student behaviors build up, and the more that we can be involved in being in the buildings, the better. So today I did spend a little bit of my free time at Thornhill Road playing with kindergartners in recess and in the cafeteria. They were amazing. I've been able to see several faculty meetings, department leader meetings, team meetings, you name it, and they all have reflected the work of our strategic initiative, and couldn't be more proud of our building principals, our teachers, our support staff, you name it. Everyone seems to be in a real good spot, and our goal is to keep that momentum going between now and the end of the year. But baby steps, it's now between now and April break. So we are all hands on deck, and really happy with how we started the return from break. And that is all I have for my report.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll have our approval for the consent agenda. Motion. Thank you, Emily and Kate. All in favor? All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. It's approved. Is there any old business? Is there any new business? Okay, next we have public comment. And we'd like to ask Julia Kai to please come forward. Thank you.
Dear Board of Education, in 2024, Pittsford has become my second hometown. The more I have learned about this education system, the more fortunate I feel to be raising my children at PCSD. However, I have also noticed some discrepancies in the policy processes within our district. For instance, I observed that new AP courses were successfully added to our curriculum after being proposed and discussed at the school board meetings. The decisions such as the removal of science honors programs were made, however, without hearing at BOE meetings, but only ad hoc interpretations. More recently, the ad hoc grading committee updated the report card format without it being listed on the BOE agenda. While I appreciate the effort made by the committees, I hope that the Board of Education can recognize these discrepancies and work toward establishing more standardized processes for important policy changes. Clear and consistent procedures will ensure transparency and promote greater trust and understanding within our community. As you may be aware, the district has decided to initiate training for all teachers in April to implement the new report card format. The current decision has made it clear that behavior grading will not be shared externally for students' summer camp and other applications. I hope the school board can guarantee that the behavior grading can be reported on report cards optionally for parents and students in the future, because many external institutions ask for report cards in the middle of school years instead of official transcripts. I also hope the school district can not only focus on student behaviors, but also student academic rigor by comparing our report cards to schools that are ranked better than us. As we face the prospect of financial burdens in the coming year due to the state funding cut, I wish the school district to prioritize the preservation of essential educational programs, particularly high school honors, APs, and electives. These courses play a crucial role in reducing disparities and promoting equity for students with potential, because not all students have access to tutoring services. Together, we can continue to provide a high-quality education that empowers all students to reach their full potential. Thank you so much.
So I just have a response, and I think Shuya's heard this response already. We did have an ad hoc committee that wanted to discuss how we're giving feedback to families and students that's more consistent. And it does describe in there that we will describe not only the letter grade, but also behaviors that we're seeing with the student. So with that said, it has not gone in front of the board. It's not a policy. It's a practice that hasn't even been disseminated anywhere really, except that ad hoc committee that you were part of. So this is kind of like the whole world hearing this for the first time when we're still trying to process through a lot of this. But I will share that one of the things that's been in discussion and agreed on through consensus is that in no way, shape, or form will students' behaviors be reflected in any transcripts or summer camps or anywhere other than an internal document. Our hope is really, as parents being our partners and students being our customers, that we're able to provide consistent feedback, not only about the end, which is the grade, but their journey along the way in which that grade came out. So always want to thank you, Shuya, for being involved in our committee work and including this committee. And soon we will be presenting this to the board. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, is there a motion for adjournment? So Sarah and Emily. Thank you. So all in favor? The motion carries. Thank you.